Well, welcome everyone to a comprehensive guide to efficient numbering in Revit with Ideate ReNumber. My name is Richard Taylor with Ideate Software Graytech, and also joining me today is Naveen Nabil. Naveen will be reviewing the chat dialogue, so if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to type those questions into the chat dialogue, and she will answer those questions as best as possible. If we don't get to all the questions, we will certainly follow up. If you actually leave your email and if you need a follow up, we can certainly do that. And so, speaking of all of that, like I said, the chat dialogue is available. After the presentation, if you have a question or a concern, you can always email support@ideatesoftware.com. And I believe that Naveen is going to put a survey into the chat dialogue. That survey it really helps us focus these specific presentations for you. So I know she's going to do that several times. She's going to do it at the top here and then also right before we exit the presentation as well. So thank you, Naveen. So we're here to talk about Ideate ReNumber. And Ideate ReNumber is part of the Ideate Apps collection. So the Ideate Apps collection, it's one product from Ideate software, but it's actually 10 productivity tools for all Revit users, allowing you to lay out sheets and views very easily, duplicate sheets, align viewports across sheets, understand why something doesn't display correctly with our Ideate X-ray. In fact, Naveen did that 2 weeks ago. But today, we're here to talk about Ideate ReNumber. This tool allows you to renumber almost any element within Revit. It could be rooms, spaces, doors, viewports on sheets. There's a lot of workflows that this tool supports. So with that, we're going to start with the Getting Started guide. All of our software has Getting Started guides, and so today we're going to really kind of focus on the one for Ideate ReNumber. You can actually access the help and the Getting Started guides in two ways. On the main Ideate software ribbon panel, you can go to that A when you can actually select on help, or if you're in any specific tool under the Ideate apps, you can use the pull down and that little arrow to the right of the dialog, and you can say online help, and that'll go right to the help, and then you can click on the Getting Started guide. So really easy to be able to access this. So let's take a look at this. The Getting Started guide uses the Revit Advanced Sample Project, which I have here. I'm going to open up the second floor plan, and then I'm going to go to the Ideate software ribbon panel, and I'm going to start Ideate ReNumber. When I do that, it loads the rules, and I'm going to talk about where it's loading them from in just a second, but it does load some default rules. Here is where you can access that help. So from the pull down menu, notice that I can go and select online help, and I can go right to the Getting Started guide. And in the Getting Started guide for ReNumber, we actually have several topics. We have renumbering rooms, spaces, and doors. Today, I'm going to just primarily be focusing on rooms, but there are other methods as well. So let's go back to Revit here. And so I'm going to select the rule to be rooms. And since this is the second floor, I'm going to change the level prefix to 2. And I want to start with 200, 300, or 200, 201, 202, and so forth. I'm just going to select elements. So I'm going to zoom into an element, and I'm going to select on this the lounge here. And notice that if I try to select on the curtain panel or like a wall, it's not going to accept it. It's only looking for tags or room spaces. If I do get a warning like the room has duplicate values, that's fine. It'll allow me to do that. But I might want to go back and change that, which is what I'm going to do here and sort of fix that, because now I'm going to say it's a 2 dash. If I hit the tab, it gives me a preview in the example. So now I'm going to select on the lounge, and it's 2 dash 00, 2 dash 01, 2 dash 02, and so, or 202, 203. And in fact, what I'm going to do here is actually double click, or I'm clicking twice. And we implemented this fairly recently. It might have actually been in the last release of Ideate ReNumber, where if you click twice, it basically skips. So you can create a rule that does even or odd, but if you just want to have a quick way to do this, you can select on like what I did there, select once, select it again, and it'll skip it. to the next entry. All right, let's go down to the first floor plan. So that was an example of just being able to show you with ReNumber using the selection method, select elements. Now I'm going to say, well, you know what? I'm on the first floor. I'm going to do the exact same thing, right? And I'm going to do 1-00 and so forth. But I'm going to say select path from crossing. And here I'm going to tick that create new path, which allows me to draw a 2D detail line. This is just your normal 2D line. It's nothing special about it. Um, and so I'm going to basically create a path of anything that intersects that line is going to be renumbered. And so you can see now that everything that was, it used to be 121, now it's 1-00 and 1-01 and so forth. I can ignore any element. I can reverse the direction very easily by just selecting that reverse. So there's quite a few things that allow me to manipulate this. Um, so in this case, let's go back and say that we want to review maybe and add some additional information to that line. So all I'm doing is saying create similar, right? I'm going to select on the line and I'm now adding to it. So I can modify the line, just like any other line within Revit. But in this case, I'm adding some additional rooms by drawing that's going to cross through the room itself, right? Then the key here is to bring up ReNumber again. I'm not going to tick that create new path because I'm actually going to be selecting the path instead. So I set up the level prefix. I'm going to say select path crossing. And then when I say start numbering, right, I'm going to pick a line as opposed to like a room object. So in this case, the white means that that room has not been changed because remember, I already started and renumbered those. The green says, oh, you made a change. Now, if I want to come back and modify that again, I can do that very easily. So now I might want to say that I want this to be 1.00 as opposed to 1.12 or 13, whatever. And now when I select on that, notice that all of them are green because they've all been renumbered. So the color, it will tell you whether that element has been changed, even though it's giving you a preview, of course. It's just a nice quick way to show you that if it's white, it hasn't been changed, or if it's green, it's going to be changed to that new value, okay? So like I said, so the different methods we have there are just selecting individually. You can do a crossing or a vertex, which actually means that the the vertex point that you're selecting, the corner of the line basically has to be inside the room. In this case, since we're using rooms, or you can do an auto number by view, and that depends on maybe you're in a schedule view or you're working with doors that don't really require a sequence. And so you can do the whole view at once. Okay, so Ideate ReNumber is very customizable and and very powerful because it comes with these rules. And these rules, we have bonus rules as well as basic rules. And in those rules, you can change the target parameter. You can ignore certain types or elements. You can combine parameters together, like the space number with the square footage of the room, as an example. You can control the numbering sequence and when it should restart. So, increments per space or increments per level, as an example. You can control the increment size, as I mentioned. You can do odd or even, or you can even say, I want to jump by an increment of 5. And you can pull data from many different Revit parameters. So I'm going to use another example here. Here are some lighting fixtures. And I have a space name. I'm going to change that space name to 305. And I want the lighting fixtures to have the space name plus the circuit number. So I'm going to go over to Ideate software and I'm going to call up the ReNumber tool. And I have a rule that I'm going to switch here for lighting. And this lighting rule, again, does the space, and then it does A, B, C, D as an increment, and then the circuit number. So I'm going to use that what we just talked about, which was the select path. So now it updates all of those light fixtures to have the space of 305 with the circuit number 1P1-7 or whatever the specific circuit number is. As I mentioned earlier, these rules are coming from, if you use the little cog tool, you can specify where those are stored as well as what type of 2D line you're using. So I'm going to show you a real quick example of, I'm going to remove one of the parameters, which is the circuit number, and I'm going to add the electrical data instead. So what we do here is we want to give it like a little name that I know in the formula. So I'm just going to call it ELEC for electrical. So you know it has space, it has an increment for the number, and then electrical data. So you can see the preview there on the ReNumber tool as well. Now I select the line again, and now it's going to have the space name incremented by A, B, C, D, E, or whatever, and also the electrical data as opposed to the circuit number. So here's where I was saying you can pull almost any parameter data from Revit and be able to push that into a target parameter, which typically is like a tag value or a type value for the individual light fixture, or even for the like I said, the type could be for the light fixture as well. Okay. And I also mentioned that this works in schedules. So this is a great example of using the, auto number by view. You could have a schedule, you could have it already be sort of sorted and say that, all right, I want to renumber all of the, like in this case, it could be a product code or an item number based on the schedule as well. So the rules themselves, as I mentioned, are available. We have, if you go to our the help menu within the website, you can see there that we have access to the sample rules, and you can see all the different rules for the basic rules and the bonus rules. And the bonus rules, what we've done is just sort of segregated those that may be a little bit more detailed, or something that you might not use that often. So that's why we put those into the bonus rules folder. But again, all of these are customizable. You can specify where this folder is, again, using the little cog menu in Ideate ReNumber to say that I want this to be on a shared network drive, for instance, that everyone in the office is using the same location for storing and saving those rules. So again, I'd like Naveen to post that survey link in the chat. And if you have any additional questions, you can always find us at www.ideatesoftware.com, or you can send an email to support@ideatesoftware.com. And I see we've got about 2 minutes. And I think, Naveen, were there any specific questions that real quickly that I can address?
There was a question about renumber by view for sheets. So I thought that was a good example to talk about. So if you are sorting your schedule, your renumber will respect that, and it can renumber your sheet that way. So that schedule can be your sheet, and then it can renumber it that way.
Perfect. Yep.
So I thought that
And
was pretty
again,
good.
I use the ReNumber, by view a lot of times with doors, because the rule for the door says, oh, pick up on the room value as an example, and then do the doors as like A, B, C, D. So it doesn't necessarily matter the sequence that you're doing that, because it's going to pick up on the room number. But any rule that says, well, I have to pick this first, like I'm renumbering spaces or I'm renumbering rooms, we need to have like sort of a direction, or like a path. So the renumber by the view will be disabled in that particular instance. But that's a great question. That's why it's used primarily for schedules and for doors as the two examples that I can think of off the top of my head. Excellent. Well,
Thank
again,
you.
thank you so much for attending this very short presentation today. We really appreciate it. This will be available as a short video on our website very soon. And if you could fill out that survey, we would greatly appreciate it. And I hope everyone has a good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're located. Thanks a lot.